Kia ora koutou katoa, nau mai, haere mai, hello and welcome to The Breakdown. Welcome to Sky. What's on the show tonight? We're going to talk about, clearly, the All Blacks taking on Scotland. We're going to talk about Italy beating the Wallabies in that massive, epic test match out of Paris. That's South Africa taking on France. We're going to look at the Super Rugby sides for 2026 and then focus on England at Twickenham. The team are here. There they are. Look at those fine gentlemen over there. Plenty to talk to them about in a moment. But first, let's look back at the big test match last night for Murrayfield.
Just when New Zealand needed some pep. Step forward, Damien McKenzie. Gets it away, McKenzie. Rugby from the gods. Played by rugby's gods.
I can only imagine what those Scottish players are going to be thinking in the changing room after this game, because the All Blacks presented them with the opportunity to beat them.
It feels to me like at that point when we were at 17, all the games there to be won, but we can get it done today.
You don't want to be that team that is on the wrong side of history, so they're really proud that we hung tough.
I think as a leader, you either get shocked and get on the back foot, or you just stay composed. You know, I'm proud of the men to, I guess, absorb that wave.
Green's team's going to have everything. It's just you're not going to roll through. We've got to be better, be more consistent, and we're going to make sure we're self-controlled so no one goes to their pocket anymore.
Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us here on The Breakdown. What a 24 hours it has been in the international game, and Scotland all so close. Not for the first time. They've been right there before. They had their opportunity at Murrayfield overnight and they weren't quite good enough to get the result. A lot to talk about, to digest, unpack over the last 24 hours. And we've got the up guy, Angus Tatavau. He is back in the house. Prime Angus, he named himself last weekend. Stephen Donald, I don't know where he's been. Beaver's been on tour, and Mills Muliaina, well, you haven't been. You've been with me here at Sky going to work. Beaver, where you've been and you've come home, and do you get a sense that the All Blacks are better from when you left or when they've come back?
Well, after half-time, I thought this was the best All Blacks I've seen all season. And then, obviously, second half happened, Goldie. So, fascinating morning, that's for sure.
For you, Mills, in terms of having a time to digest what happened not long ago, with the All Blacks, as they sit in their changing room, their hotel, and they focus on the next test match, be happy right now?
I think they'd be satisfied. I mean, relief after the game, but satisfied that they've got it under their belt and they move on to what's going to be a heck of a week in Twickenham. But yeah, I'm with Beaver. I thought, I was anticipating him to come out of the break and just go to another level. But obviously, yellow cards, that stalls a lot of things, and that's kind of what happened.
We're going to get to yellow cards, we're going to get to red cards when you start talking about how things have changed in the game. We'll explain some of that in South Africa, France a little bit later on. But the up guy's here, and when you look at that All Black team and that performance and getting a result, because that's what they're chasing, they're trying to chase a piece of history once again, beating those four nations. For you, what did you see? Did you feel good about the performance?
Goldie, you said it, I'm the up man. I always feel good about an All Blacks win. And like Beaver said, I think that first half was, compared to a bit of the bore fest of last week against Ireland, it had everything. The whole game, I mean, you had yellow cards, you had 10 minutes of a man-of-the-match swinging performance with a 50-22 and a try. And I also liked what Scotland brought. It was just frustrating as just a rugby fan to see them not finish those opportunities. But in terms of just watching a spectacle and seeing the skill set on play, Finn Russell, the wizard, I mean, I was enjoying it. I was loving it, mate.
It's hard to have a show and be a little bit critical when you're on. We're gonna get a lot deeper into this.
Let's break it down.
No, well, let's break it down. That's what we will do as well, though. We're going to get some reaction coming out of the Test match from the All Blacks with their assistant coach. That was Jason Ryan, with Taylor Johnson on site.
Well, we just saw a very close and nail-biting test match, but in the end, the All Blacks kept that Grand Slam hope alive. Jason Ryan, what were your initial thoughts to that game?
Well, firstly, it was a massive privilege to be a part of this test match. Scotland called us out effectively. They wanted to play us, so we embraced the occasion as the crowd did. But look, we're immensely proud. We've got a lot of young fellas out there tonight, especially up front, and I was just impressed how we start. We'll learn from the second half and 3 yellow cards. We're going to have to, but I was really wrapped for the boys.
Were there any areas that you saw improvement in from last week?
Probably our carry and clean game was pretty good. I thought our carry height and our ability to put footwork on and trust our skills was really good. A couple of things to tidy up and some big rocks in the scrum probably, but we didn't get a couple of calls there, but that is what it is. But I was also really impressed that our bench stepped up again.
As a forwards coach, what are you saying to your forward pack as they head out into the game?
Oh, there's a couple of things we touched on this week around acknowledging that Scotland had never beaten us, and we talked around our legacy and what that was, and is that going to be a lot of pressure on them potentially, and maybe that was at the start, but I just tell the boys constantly to trust themselves, just back their skills, back their instinct. We've got some ball carriers, and just get your hands on the ball, boys.
What's the atmosphere like in the team? Because you're at the halfway point now.
Well, winning helps. Look, it's massive to come to Europe. You know, it's such a special venue, Murrayfield, and you know, and you got to take a moment to go, how good is it to be a part of a test match like this? That was probably one of our most physical games, I'd say, Scotland, and next week's probably going to be again, I'm sure. But the boys are connected, and we just got to keep fresh and give everyone a crack if we can. But she's a tough team to make.
Big game in Twickenham. Is there any strategic adjustments that you're looking to make with your pack?
Yeah, look, it's a fine line between cohesion and you know, giving guys opportunities, as well as, you know, where do you go with that? It's a tough one, you know, like we pick a 36-man squad, and it's not easy to give guys games sometimes, and you've got to reward performances, and there's some pretty special ones tonight.
And how's the hospitality been up here?
Yeah, it's good. It's been great. You know, we've had a little bit of traditional haggis at club rooms on Tuesday night, which was good. But the Scots, it's just Edinburgh's. Honestly, it's probably one of my favourite cities. It's so good.
Me too. I've enjoyed the haggis as well. But thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you. Cheers. And thanks for all the support back home. Appreciate it.
Before we get on to the game itself, haggis, gentlemen, what do you think?
No, never tried.
Never tried?
Never tried it.
Nah, more of a black pudding man myself. Yeah.
I was all in. Nothing wrong with it at all. Outstanding. Let's move on to the game itself. It seems as though Jason Ryan was pretty happy with the performance, Beaver. When you look at that 80 minutes, 17-0, game in the balance with 7 minutes to go, 17 all, surprised at how chipper maybe the coach was?
Well, I guess if you look at it from a glass half full, the first half, as I said at its top, I thought we played with more endeavour, more speed than we've played all year. I saw us attacking from deep because it was presented to us, so the boys made some big inroads that way. But then the second half, how much does that cancel out? Again, discipline, yellow cards. And Scotland only looked, I guess, menacing for me once we invited them into our 22, which was off the back of penalties, Goldie. So I guess a game of two halves, to use the cliche, but certainly the first half had some positives.
Well, it did. I mean, we came out of the blocks, we adjusted because their defensive effort, really, they were scanning. And that first try from the set up from Josh Lord, I thought he was impressive as well. He stepped up, up another level once again. But it's the ability of the All Blacks to come out of the break. They're ill discipline. But if you look at the Scottish side, there's a lot of missed opportunities for them. You know, and I got the sense they panicked a little bit just when it sort of really mattered down inside our own 20, the New Zealand 22. They didn't capitalise on all that ball that they had.
When you looked at the Scotland team going into it, and there'd been a lot of chat leading up to this match that Scotland were going to be well and truly prepared. They were good enough. When you looked at the way that they played, particularly the second half, you mentioned it, 2 tries that were held up over the line, then another one where Cam Roigard makes a try-saving tackle. They were good, Scotland, ultimately, but did we allow them back in the game? Are there things that we should be controlling, like our discipline, Gus, to make sure we don't give Scotland opportunities?
I think discipline is a big part of it, and that's what Beef said allowed them to get into the game. I also felt like at times we were quite passive and absorbed a lot of the contact. Like Jason Ryan was talking about how physical it was. We were on the back foot for a lot of their carries. It wasn't until desperation came in that last minute, Cody Taylor tackle with the knock-on, Cam Roigard on the sideline, the 2 held up. So I think looking at on the try line, the boys worked hard. They got low, they put their head into dark places. But what led up to that is just you can't be absorbing back-to-back contacts.
Yeah. And you mentioned that to me as you were watching the game, Mills.
Yeah, I sometimes feel over the last sort of few test matches that we're actually riding tackles. There's no real sort of anyone sort of putting their hand up to put people on their backside and stopping it, even if that ball comes a split second slower than what it is. And then you stop that sort of momentum. At the moment, it almost seems like we want to jackal first. and get the player down to try and win the ball, as opposed to, hey, let's just dominate the physicality of the tackle, stop the momentum and stop the dent in the line. And that's what teams have been able to do. I think perhaps the All Blacks just, that might be a focus for them, particularly when you're going into an English side that are big. They'll hit you in areas that you won't be expecting, and that's around the rucks.
Is it hard when you're getting purchased, Beaver, in terms of turning position, though, when you are so good over the ball? When we see Lester Whanganuku, Ioane Savia, Quinn Tupaia, multiple players across the team who are getting rewards, you can sort of see them like you're talking about. They're going, well, don't worry about the contact. Someone else get him to ground. We'll create a turnover. Can you get yourself in two minds about, surely, is the first point to get off the line and hit them behind the advantage line?
Yeah, and I mean, but again, that makes the next job easier too. So it's getting over the ball if you are going forward to it. And I certainly do see what you're saying. There might have been almost a passive aspect to the entire D, and that might have been from a line speed point of view, because you talked about the missed opportunities. I think Scotland missed even more than the obvious ones, because Finn Russell was absolutely obsessed about the cross kicks, even though they were 5-on-2, the big bridge passes, even though they were 4-on-1s and what have you. I think they did leave some out there, and I think we're actually fortunate that we did scramble so well in times.
Is this good preparation for next week? Just in terms of staying on this, the challenges that the All Blacks faced here, the fact that clearly Scotland were good in some areas, but England are going to be stronger. Does this game, is it really helpful in terms of tidying up some areas which England could expose?
I believe so. If you play 30 minutes of rugby with, well, I mean, we'll probably talk about a game later on with 40 minutes of 40 men, but you play 30 minutes of rugby with 40 men, it's going to be a challenge. You know, it's not easy. Talk about the physicality, the speed, the endeavour that Scotland was playing with and the opportunities they had. I think there's enough there in the guts, and as Jason Ryan's alluded to, they're pretty happy with that to build onto next week. Obviously, it's going to be a different beast in England, but there's enough guts there, I think, to carry on the momentum.
How do you get composure in those moments? How do you deal with that? Because they were reactive plays. The fact of sticking a foot out in terms of a foot trip, sticking a hand out in regards to trying to go for an intercept. Things that instinctively, to me, it talks of that desperation you talk about. That, oh no, they might just score off this, rather than trusting what we're doing in the All Blacks. That's what Jason Ryan's saying. We trust it. How do you change that instinct? Is it you've just got to, I suppose, pull back in some way?
I think it's moments like that. It's cohesion, trying to get that cohesion in the team when you are reviewing, because you spoke about it's trust. They're under pressure. They've got to go through this, and unfortunately they do. But the fortunate part about it is that they've won.
Yeah.
Right? And when you lead into a review, those are the things you pick up and say, you've just got to trust it. Yes, we're under pump. Someone's in the bin. Don't go out of your way to make a miracle play. You know, those are the times that you've really got to be aligned. Even something as simple as, hey, we've just got to try and, absorb some of the pressure that's sort of coming, rather than someone coming up with a magical play that's going to get us back in the game.
Were there individuals who impressed you, Beaver?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, the man of the match from 15 minutes.
That's a good effort.
Yeah, it's a hell of an effort. I thought Peter Lakai, I mean, we were talking about guys who are having a crack at the ball and whether we were overdoing it. I thought he was immense, certainly defensively, Gus, as far as someone getting over the ball. But, I guess these are a couple of telling moments from Damian McKenzie on your screen.
And those moments are what you expect from players who want those opportunities, who put themselves in the game. And he does cop a lot of flack, Damian McKenzie, when he starts at 10 for the All Blacks. Is his role really clear now for you, Mills, about the best way he can help the All Blacks?
Well, look what he's done over the last couple of weeks, probably the last 3 weeks when he's come off the bench. That 50-22.
It's a game changer.
It was a game changer, but in that heat of the moment, I've spoken about it before, about learning from that, Damian McKenzie, you'd think, would actually keep the ball in hand and try to have a go. You know, the game's tied up, but to understand and have, I suppose, the maturity and also the execution to pin it down there, win that, and then score the points. I think that's where it's changed.
I'm going to pose a question. Jason Ryan talked about rewarding performance. Is rewarding performance, given the fact that Caleb Clark, who failed his HIA, I think that will rule him out of playing next weekend. Does that mean that all of a sudden a reshuffle in the back three and you put Will Jordan on the wing and you put Damien at fullback? Would you consider that, Beaver?
You'd have to consider it, but at the same time, we've been talking about the bench all year. Yeah. And it's the same with starting Wallace this week from what they did last week. Do you just say, right, guys, you might be good enough to start, but we want that impact? And Damian McKenzie, time and time again at the moment, is nailing that 30 minutes off the bench.
Is that not possibly, though, a Ruben Love if Damian McKenzie starts? I mean, at some point we have to see Ruben Love play. Is this the opportunity to do that?
I think this is going to be our toughest test out of this block, and I'd say you'd probably leave that more for a Wales opportunity.
So you're just straight betting at low risk.
Well, is it low risk when you're winning games? You know what I mean? Like having D-Mac and you ask any player, do you want to start? Well, 100% I want to start. I want to play. But the role that he brings off the bench, and the bench the last couple of weeks have been absolutely massive. The big boys in the front row, Tamaiti Williams, and what D-Mac did in that last 15 minutes. If you're a forward, you're looking down, you see that kick. If you're on the right side of it, oh my God, thank you. If you're on the other side of it, your heart sinks. And that's massive to have to bring that late.
And everyone is desperate to play. Everyone wants to be a part of the All Blacks going forward. One of those players who's been in the All Blacks for a long, long time has had to change his role. Let's hear how Rieko Ioane is dealing with that right now in the All Black team.
The career I've had in the black jersey has been it's been an interesting one. It definitely has been a roller coaster. And this year's no different. Although this year's been challenging in terms of playing it, I've found out, like the beauty and the preparation of helping this team. Being on a different side it's been awesome, and I've had a couple of boys in similar positions to me, pushing for the exact same thing, and when the team wins, we all win.
Slip through, rolling out! Oh, he's brilliant!
You have to get over the disappointment of not playing pretty quickly. So whatever my role looks like, although it may not be playing as I have, or coming off the bench, whatever it might look like, you still have to do it. When I was younger and I wasn't playing, that's when you might have seen a more immature or just a not so mature response. I'd like to think that this time around I've been pretty good about things.
Goes straight across. And a chance for Ioane! Rieko Ioane gets it!
Still happy, still fighting, still working, so
Wants to get the opportunity to wear the All Black jersey once again. If you look at his vast experience, 87 games, you're talking 38 tries in the black jersey, 220 defenders beaten, line breaks, offloads. Here's a guy with vast experience who he hasn't had the 2025 campaign you would expect. So we talked about whether there's a reshuffle in mind. Will you consider Rieko Mills for this 23 for this next match? Is it Sevo Reece, or will Rieko's experience be really valuable in a one-off test against England?
I think it's the latter. I do. I think this is a Grand Slam, right? Isn't it? And I think you lead into the certain games. We spoke to Razor Robinson before they left, and he mentioned they're going to pick the best players. And I think this is the time now for Rieko Ioane to get a start. I would start him and put Damian McKenzie at fullback. I disagree with sort of what Gus mentioned before, and move.
So Leroy Carter for you just. Look, does he need a spell?
I think he does.
Break?
I think the last couple of weeks he's just starting to probably dip a little bit with that. He brings someone with energy, and we're not talking about a 10-test All Black here. We're talking about 87 tests, 38 tries. That's not a risk.
You've got him thinking. He was looking to the sky. Beaver's looking to the sky. He's looking for answers. That's what you were doing. He's considering it.
That's where he, when you've got experience like that and you're going into a massive game, and a guy of his calibre, I just think, with the energy that he now can bring, and he was good against Aussie. I think it's a chance now for Rieko Ioane to start and have, D-Mac at the back, Ruben Love off the bench. Don't wait to Wales. Why do we need to wait for Wales to bring Ruben Love into the fold?
Because you want to win, bro. You want to win right now.
So you think he's winning right now, right? Yep.
Yeah. All this talk about the Grand Slam, this is the biggest game. You've had 2 solid wins, and we've talked about, has it been good enough? But this is the biggest test, so you want your best team. I don't think you can just start chucking in.
So you'd start him, though? You'd start him on the wing?
I like credit to Rieko. He's talked about the maturity that he's had to go through. A younger Rieko would act differently, but he's played 87 tests for the All Blacks. He knows how to perform. He knows what to do at the highest level. And injury-wise, 100%, I'd back him to play in there. But will we start bringing in other players who haven't played much footy with that experience? Like, we want to win. Our expectation is to win a Grand Slam. So I disagree with you. I think they need to wait for Wales, back their best team here.
I think that is the best team. I think that would be their best team. I don't see... You've got a Damian McKenzie that's playing the roof down, right? And he's come off the bench. He's showing plenty of maturity right there. You bring a bit of energy and a bit of experience back there. And then I think, well, why can't Ruben Love do that job? He can come off the bench. He hasn't played a lot this year. He'll come off the bench and do exactly what Damian McKenzie sort of brings at the same time. So Rieko Ioane, for me, will spark things up. Damian's at the time now of the end of the tour where it is the best team. I think that is the best team.
I'm starting Leroy Carter and I'm bringing Rieko in and I'm leaving Damian there purely from the fact, a little bit of what Gus has been talking about, we're actually slowly starting to get that last 20 or 30 minutes firing.
Right. Yep.
And we're also, I can't go away from the fact that first half was, I think it's as good as we've seen this year. And why would you, and Will Jordan's a part of that at 15 and such an important part. Look, Damian, I know I'm his biggest fan, but I just think at last we're starting to get some real punch off the bench and him. And, you know, there's others too, like Tamaiti Williams and Tosin, the likes are going that well. They could probably be putting their hand up for a start, but just leave them and try and get this bench thing happening.
I mentioned it in the post-match this morning, but I think we're not quite reaching our potential yet, Gus, in terms of I start looking around some of the pieces you talk about. Peter Lakai, it was Wallace Satiti's best game in the All Black jersey in 2025. We had two really young, inexperienced locks and Josh Lord and Fabian Holland go through a really good experience, a great experience for them. And you know, Darry's back. We've got a lot of guys who are at home. Lomax isn't there. You know, obviously the Barrett boys aren't there as well at the moment. Patrick Tuipulotu. I start looking at this group and I'm going, I believe we should dominate a game like that. Not just for 40 minutes, but we should dominate for 50, 60, 70 minutes. Are we playing to our level right now, or are we not? Am I not giving, and I'm happy to accept this, am I not giving these other teams enough credit?
I 100% believe the other teams, like what I saw from Scotland, I loved how they were attacking the game. I love what they were bringing. But all those names you just mentioned, those are all starting players. We've got Josh Lord, who's come from, how much foot has he played in the last, you know, four months even. He's leading the line out off the back of coming on early last game. And these guys are putting their hand up in a position where you've lost your captain. You've lost one of the best tight ends in the game in Tara Lomax, but you've got Fletcher Newell coming, Pasilio Tosi, who I believe has earned every keep, you know. Last year he got the surprise to come in, and he's just grown and grown and grown. And we talk about that bench, Taukiaho, Tamaiti Williams, I've just Pasilio Tosi, like that's 4 with prime beef last week. That's big boys that are coming on and actually impacting the game. And that, I believe, like the last few years, our bench hasn't quite had that spark that you've touched on, Beaver. But now we're starting to find late in the game where we need to take over, they're taking over.
The only downside to that is, and you're right, our bench has stepped up to the mark. We shouldn't be heavily reliant on winning a game off from the bench. And that's what we're doing at the moment. And we should be winning it right from the get-go. The bench brings something different. Damian McKenzie brought something different in 15 minutes. Now that we've got the bench sorted, it's their role in how they play, I feel, rather than the individual itself. Hence the reason I think, you know, Ruben Love can actually step into that. Our game should be set around what we do in that first 40 minutes, 40 to 60 minutes. We should be dominating, not bringing the bench on
to save us.
To save us, and that's what's happening.
And often you might have to. That's the nature of Test match rugby. It's nice to have. I just think it's a bit like first kick-off after half-time. You know, you're in complete control of the game. Yep. You're in control of the scoreboard. Just those moments that swing momentum. And then you talked about rolling. They were on top of us when they had the ball. You know, they were getting over the advantage line. And that's probably what I'm concerned about, is that we allowed them to be good enough, Beaver, to get back into the game and get 17 unanswered points.
And when you concede a couple of tries like that, instantly the All Blacks' attacking mindset went out to the door in the second half too. That game was built on, and the excitement of that first half was built on the fact that they were playing from deep, that they were playing at pace. Jace Ryan talked about the carry and clean. Well, that was on the back of the boys exposing the wide channels. As soon as we drop a kick-off, they get entry into our 22, they get some points. All of a sudden, our game goes from, I guess, the width of the whole field to starting to narrow up, starting to get a bit slower.
And for me, 12 entries Scotland had into our 22, we just had 6 into theirs. If they'd taken more of their opportunities, this well and truly could have been a different result. Well, there's great action coming here on Sky over the summer, and we love our tennis, and you should love tennis as well. Yes, the Australian Open starts on the 12th of January, and looking forward to what's going to be an outstanding tournament. Alcaraz and Goff are the defending champions, but Sinner and Madison Keys, they are the two that are going down to win and try and win their titles. What it's going to be an outstanding tournament. Can't wait for it. I've been. It is one of the best in the world. More to talk after the break.
TK Howden has been really busy in this particular soiree into the 22. Tangita has got the ball away, another wonderful offload, and again, and Bakatava finishes it off. I mean, there are even smiles on the faces of England fans after that.
Another penalty coming Samoa's way. High tackle this time. Rodney Akion to Umang. A little scoop offload this time to VAR. Arpelu, Maliko. The quick feet, the inside ball and the bump. And he scores. Prendergast pops it up. O'Brien for the line. Tommy, like a tornado, blows through the remnants of the Japanese defence. Will play on. Liner bounces off one, bounces off two, but grounds the ball. Louis Liner against the country of his birth.
The Boks have changed many of the ways they played. The offload stats are up, and now we're going back to classic South African Springbok fundamentals. Set piece, physicality, power. Can they force their way over the try line and extend their lead? Oh, and Williams is through. He's under the post. This second half from the Springboks has been out of this world.
Some great action from around the world. Ireland, they got up over Japan. That was at Aviva Stadium. England, they weren't good enough to beat the All Blacks 15. That was an impressive performance. Samoa, well, one step closer to qualifying for the Rugby World Cup, beating Brazil. And there's their opponents coming up. Belgium having a good win over Namibia. So critical, Samoa, Belgium next weekend. Italy, well, they've done it for the second time, beating Australia. England had to work hard in the first 40, but come over the top of Fiji. Then there's the big one coming out of Paris. South Africa, impressive. We'll talk more about that very, very soon over France. And then overnight, Wales are taking on Argentina. Wales, can they find that elusive win? They're desperate against the world-class quality side. Get them back on track. But we have to talk South Africa, France, because great occasion, great intensity. But this game, essentially, lads, was about a red card, which you talk about a 20-minute red card. It ended up being a full red card. And we need to look at the footage first, so we can all, at home, and we can judge here. Let's have a look at it. The collision that led to Ludiaga being ruled out of the game and not being allowed to be replaced after 20 minutes. Gentlemen, how do we feel about that? Contact there being deemed bad enough to be gone and them playing 14 men. Gus?
I mean, how tall is Ludiaga? He's 2 metres 13 or something like that. I don't think he could have gotten any lower. We sort of talked off here about maybe a shoulder, but I seen a rep coming round. First of all, confusing with the red, sent him off for reporting and all that jazz, but I don't think it's a full-blown red off for 40 minutes.
You look at it in real time, it's completely different to when you do see it in slow. So when you see it in slow, they talk about how that right shoulder, he's not coming around and all the rest of it. But when you see it like that, as Gus points out, the 8-foot-tall man got as low as he's going to get to. And again, when it's slowed right down, Ramos is on his knees and it looks like a sitting duck. But in real time, Goldie, it's a completely different story.
He'd already dipped in real time. And I think that's when you slow it down, he'd already dipped and committed to the height that he was going to as a tackler. I just don't like the fact that you red card and then you're off. You know, if it's a straight red card, that was just confusing in itself. You know, we're waiting for someone else to come back on. But if you're red carded, right, from the get-go from the referee, you can't replace.
What annoyed me about this was the purpose was to try and speed up the process, right? You get them on report, give them a yellow because it's met the threshold, and then you leave it in the hands of the foul play review officer. What's horrible about this situation is they did it on the field. They basically went through the whole process that was supposed to be done off the field. And then it would have been a 20-minute red card. They would have got to the end. And I don't think there was any intent. I don't think there was, like I say, he could control that collision. There was no doubt it was late in regards to his arm coming round. But a lot of factors are involved in this. There's certainly no intent. And you don't put it in, that's not like a punch. That's not something where someone's standing on someone. That's the bracket you've elevated that to in the game. Besides that, though, South Africa still went on and won. And that tells us why they're the number 1 team in the world, right? Because they were so good, Mills, in regards to with their backs against the wall. They did this early, but late they were just the Springboks that we know and know so well.
They've got 2 different levels, right? They understand what they need to do in the second part of that as well. They understand when they're under pressure and what sort of game they need to go to. I mean, the collisions early on in the piece, they absorbed that. But they're a different athlete too, Beef.
Yeah, absolutely. And going into the game, you actually thought, it's funny to say, but you thought if South Africa got to a pace of game that the French forward pack weren't going to live with. And that sort of, you saw Reinhardt's incredible try. That was an example of French forwards not being in place. But Goldie, that first 20, Mills, he touched on it. What they had to withstand early, the French forwards, certainly in that first 20, Gus, were throwing all of their 10 kg advantage. I saw in the stats, the 930 kg pack was starting to get some dominance.
I suppose that's a scary thing about South Africa at the moment. They've got the pace, and you saw their work ethic from their backs to hustle and scramble. But then, you know what? Let's change the pace at scrum time. Let's change the pace at more. Let's take your legs from out of you. And those forwards, I think that try that he scored, the type 5, they didn't even make it there, Beaver. They were too quick. They dominated the set piece. And I suppose we must shout out to Siya Kolisi on his 100th game as well. So hats off to him. Great performance by all around.
They know how to win. Pure and simple for me. They're such a good rugby team, and they can handle pressure, and they can change their game, and they've continued to grow, and they've given other players opportunities, and it's been a successful season so far for the Springboks. The season has gone south in a hurry for Australia and the Wallabies, really, really quickly, and they've got 2 massive challenges in front of them coming up. But to lose to Italy, Beaver, this is damaging to their game, because a team that we felt had moved and made big shifts in the Rugby Championship have gone backwards quickly.
Well, that's the thing, God, it's gone backwards. And we know how important the Wallabies are to Australia as far as on a grander sense, as far as their game and everything that flows with it. This is a hugely disappointing result for them, because I think this tour they had to win 3 from 5 really for it to be a pass mark. Well, they're already 0 from 2, and they've got France to come.
And Ireland as well.
Ireland to come, you know, so nothing's going to be easy now.
Yeah, frustrating, isn't it? I mean, when you go off the back end of the Lions series and sort of the energy that they brought into that, they possibly could have, you know, gone into the 3rd test sort of, you know, 1 each. But to then lose to Italy again, you know, it's not great for them, right? It almost seems they've taken a few steps backwards. So, which is, and they have got players. Yeah, the downside is they haven't got the depth. You know, they haven't got the depth, particularly in a position which is crucial, and that's 10.
And Carter Gordon was given the opportunity to play at 10. That's not easy on anyone, for the fact that he hasn't played a lot of rugby. And the first game is against the Italy team, who showed last year against the All Blacks that they can be niggly. They're a Six Nations team. But in terms of Australia, a team trying to progress their game and to get some confidence, you know, look, in a couple of years, they've got a Rugby World Cup at home. These are results that they can't afford to have.
I think I said at this test 3 weeks ago, me and the 2 props, Benny Castle, we said the biggest movers in this end of year tour was going to be Australia off the back of Lions and Rugby Championship. I just didn't realise it was going the other way, Goldie. And, you know, you got that Carter Gordon's obviously come back as stints in league. Talk about the depth, and we've got the luxury right now. We're not quite happy with our performances, but we've got these guys who are stepping up because of our injuries. So I think it's obviously a lot nicer to be sitting on our side of the pond versus Australia. But you know, they're not down and out. You can see some of these guys really care. You know, some of they care. They look dejected, and I'm sure they're going to try and give it everything they've got. It is tough to see, though.
Yeah, they need to turn it around. I'm not sure they can do it. It's going to be really, really difficult. Look, there's some really important results over the weekend, but clearly qualifying for a Rugby World Cup and getting one step closer is pivotal. And Samoa have now done that. Now, they're in a playoff scenario where they've got to play 3 games, and they were very good against Brazil. Now, they wouldn't have expected to be in this position, Mills, and circumstances around player availability has led them down this path. But the fact they were dominant in this game, they're now going to take on Belgium, who are in Namibia, to get their way through. They're going to make it, but they're going to do it the hard way.
Yeah, and you've still got to go. They are favourites, right? They've been at Rugby World Cups before, but you've got, on the other side, you know, teams that are really hungry to disrupt. And when you're going over and playing in somewhere else, which at home's not very easy as well. The players making themselves available. Obviously, they've sort of parked that up, but they're one step closer. And against Belgium, you'd think they should get there.
I think this is important, Beaver, in terms of the fact that we know when everyone's available, they're good enough. And if they were to miss out, that you start thinking to yourself, we haven't got one of our teams that are pivotal to the game across the globe.
Oh, absolutely. And you've got to think the next World Cup, we're going to have a round of 16. So for the quality of the competition, if you're going to have knockout games where the All Blacks are playing Belgium, for example, famously hot chocolates, I do believe, what else? You know, we need the quality of a Samoa who we know if we get to a quarterfinal or get to a round of 16, they're going to be more than just nuisance value. They're going to be able to physically compete with the big boys and make a game of it.
And remembering that the World Cup has expanded in Australia, there's gone from 20 to 24 teams. So if you have a look at the world rankings, and the top 6 has become really, really important in regards to where you are protected in those polls. And then from there, we're getting clarification exactly how they're going to do it from World Rugby. But this is where it sits right now, Gus. And there's 2 teams. There's Belgium and Samoa in the top 24 who haven't qualified for the Rugby World Cup. And so you look at that, there's your top 24. And, you know, we know it's going to be an expanded tournament. Hong Kong, China have done their job. They've done what they needed to do to be a part of it. But it becomes pretty pivotal that you get yourself in a position to have the best possible ride when you get there.
Well, I mean, we've seen in the past the pools of death, as you will, and I suppose with the setup now, it's the top 2 and the next best 4 third place. So I suppose setting yourself up into a pool that's going to, you know, I suppose you need some quality game time, and you don't want to just be romping 60-point wins every match. You need a challenge to really build into a quarterfinal, semi-final, final. But I mean, it's on the other side of it. I do love seeing Brazil and Romania and Hong Kong, China, and opportunities for these people to go to a World Cup and experience something that they never have before.
That's when you realise it's a global game, isn't it? You know, when you're even Belgium to that extent. I mean, Uruguay sort of been in and out. Namibia have played a bit, but it's all in front of Samoa. You know, there's Samoa to be able to sort of make it through, and given the players that they've got, but. It's pleasing that you see that rugby is it's a global sport.
And the fascinating thing, Goldie, is the top 6. You know, and it was mentioned in commentary today in the French-South African game that maybe that 3-0 B squad that came over to here might be starting to have some ramifications because, geez, you don't want them to fall outside of that.
And France without Antoine Dupont are not the same France. You know, we know exactly how good he is and what impact he has on the game and them. Well, if you missed it, and you may have, because there wasn't a huge amount of fanfare in and around the announcement of the Super Rugby squads for 2026. But we're going to just recap a few of the ins and outs, the major ins and outs. And this is what's happened around. And there's not a lot of change in Super Rugby. Let's be fair in terms of contracting of players. But the Blues have picked up a couple in Bradley Slater and Peter Aki. Moana Pacifica. Jimmy Tupou had a hell of a season for Counties Manukau. Nani Laumapi has joined them. We've got the Chiefs, Lalakai Faketi and Kairon Tamoifalau. They've gone down to Hamilton. Warner Dearns has come from Japan. He's hooking up Geordie Barrett's returning for the Hurricanes. Louis Chapman, he was the player of the match in the NPC final between Canterbury and Otago, and Lester Whanganuku, of course, returning to the Crusaders. And then our very own prime beef, Angus Tataval, he's heading down south for the Highlanders. Dylan Pledger, and not to forget also Thomas Lavanini heading down your way. So we think about Super Rugby, and let's be honest, it feels as though it's a long way away, Gus, but it's not, right? Because you're about to put the boots back on. You would have been pounding the roads, I'm sure. You've been to the gym already today?
Yeah, I've been down at Te Papapa Rugby Club, running along the field down at Oranga Ave, but I mean, I still look forward to playing. I still look forward to the challenge of what Super Rugby is, and we've got Super Round coming back to Te Kaha Stadium. You know, some great faces and movements in terms of Angus Tatavel going down to the Highlanders. I do like the Warner Dearns pickup from the Hurricanes. I think he's a great young player. But it's exciting. You know, this is when you get to link up with other players. And
can you do that down in Dunedin for us, will you? Just that you're lifting of the trophy, can you get...
Hey, there's been some moves. There's been some moves with this team, like we've seen. A couple of young bucks in there, Dylan Pledger. You know, hey, we'll see. 6 months' time.
Have you seen anything when you talk about those signings there that moves the needle for one of those sides?
Apart from the obvious.
Yeah, apart from the obvious.
The Landers, look, Tamoifalau is going to be a pretty dangerous proposition on the end of a Chiefs backline. We all know why he's gone that route, and whether that elevates not just himself but the Chiefs as well, he's certainly going to add something different there.
But where does that leave Vatini Nana Saturo and Leroy Carter and you know, was it Josh Jacob, and all of a sudden you've got all these players you've been stockpiling for a while, and then you pick up. I mean, is that just creating depth?
It creates depth, but I'm assuming Jacob won't probably get as much love now that he's going to go join you two. Yep. And they won't accommodate him as much as they might have 12 months ago. I think one of those boys will be at 15 and Damien will be at 10.
And for you, Mills, in terms of those signings for teams, Peter Aki returning back to New Zealand rugby with the Blues. Can he be impactful there? With Rieko Ioane heading offshore to Leinster?
He brings a different style too, doesn't he? Having played in France for a very long time in Toulouse. So something a little bit... What I'm looking forward to the most is the competition excelling to another level like it did this year, right? It was really competitive. If I look at a team right now, this side of the year, before we move into sort of next year, I think the Highlanders are actually looking... And that's not because Gus is here.
Yeah,
it's definitely not me.
I think it's off the back end of...
I don't believe what I've just heard.
Is the ticket office open today?
Sold out.
I'll tell you what, well, get ready. If you're a Highlanders fan, because it all kicks off in February. That is the start of Super Rugby for 2026. Remembering Super Round is going to be in Christchurch, the car down there with a new stadium. There is going to be so much action. It was a breakout season. More watched than ever on Sky Sport. Can't wait for it to get started next year. We've got plenty more to talk about here on The Breakdown. Stay with us. We're going to talk about England going on, but some of this action, we look forward to it in 2026 Super Rugby, the next version.
From the sideline. What a kick. He's done it. What a shot. Here we go. Here we go. And he's missed it. Total drama at Twickenham. The All Blacks get home.
Laws. Cotterell.
Here's Smith, gives it off to Noto, here's an opportunity, Rokathoko, Mills, Bully Ioane, there's the try. Down again, Carter shows it, then kicks wide, beautiful work, Bully Ioane, another one coming up, oh, Mialamu, got his pass off beautifully, now Nunu up the middle, he's going to make it. Not only have they completed the Grand Slam, they have not conceded a try in any of the four internationals. Quite remarkable.
He's got the bounce. He's handed off his opposite. Lamu. Lamu. Hands off Tony Underwood. Lamu. That's the most brilliant quartet of tries you'd ever wish to see.
Well, there are some teams that the All Blacks do not like to lose to. You've been there, I've been there. Mills have been there. Have you been there, Beaver? Losing to England for the All Black jersey?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, rear air then. Yeah. Rear air on the table. It's not a great feeling. That rivalry, we've got so many rivalries around the world, Mills, but this in particular, like England, you know, let's be honest, they're right there in terms of sides we love to beat.
100%. 100%.
You played 100 tests, so you would know.
And they're going into a place. I mean, Twickenham. It's a little bit different to Murrayfield, isn't it? It's a hostile environment. You sort of, as soon as the bus comes in, and it's awesome, isn't it? You know, the fans. You're walking through the tunnel of the crowd. People are up on the stadium at the same time. And then when you come out to do the haka, they get right into you. So it's a team you hate to lose against, and but man, when you beat them and at home, it is great.
This is a different test match to what they faced this weekend, Beaver. What changes would you make, if any, or is this pure and simply about you're on round 3 of your end-of-year tour? You mentioned it earlier on, Gus, this is about finding the right team, the most experienced team, whatever it might be, a winning team right now. Is anyone that shifts that for the All Blacks?
No, I think you keep going. I think before the tour started, I think this was always going to be the absolute grand final of it all, respectfully to Ireland and Scotland, where they're both at the moment. This was going to be the game that decides the Grand Slam tour. So I think you just got to keep rolling forward and back the fact that we've gained momentum from winning. And as I say, if you look at the glass half full or half empty, the first half enough to carry on and trust those boys.
In reality, it tells us that probably this will determine how successful this season is, Gus. You know, you'll if they win this and then win against Wales, then you're probably saying it's a pretty good All Black year, a very good All Black year. You don't win against England, then all of a sudden it just puts a little bit of shade on it, makes it tough going into the off-season.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? The expectation for us to win these games, and we've actually, you look back on this year, we've done really well. I mean, and we're here being quite critical in some parts because we know what the All Blacks are capable of, but putting a stamp on this game and winning at Twickenham, you know, I haven't played there, but I was there on a reserve role, and you couldn't hear the haka from the sideline. That's how hostile it is, like you talk about, Mill. So it's not an easy place to win, but if they can stamp this, move on to Wales next week, I think it's a successful year.
Will what they have done today be good enough for you, Beaver?
Not quite. The 3 yellow cards, I don't think we can. Yeah. We can give as many entries in, because the line-out drive that'll be coming from England, the power that they've got elsewhere, depending on who they play at 10, they're either going to have a guy who wants to hit drop goals against you, or they're going to have someone with creativity that can do what Finn Russell was trying to do, but he's going to have more arsenal with him.
Good preparation. A game against Fiji, who were right there, brought a bit of physicality in the first 40 minutes. They rolled over the top of them. Was that a good way to prepare to play the All Blacks?
Well, I mean, it's 7 changes, right? I mean, that's not always ideal, but you're going into a Fiji game that you're predicted to win, or you. I would have thought they would have wanted something a little bit more, with the team that played last week. You talked about the 10's going to be key. You know, if you're playing against the All Blacks right now, you want to frustrate them and slow the game down, get to that sort of set piece. So on the All Blacks side, that's got to excite you, right? You know, you're going there to try and muscle up front, but it's a different beast. And this English side, that game against Australia, man, they were dominant.
Yeah, they were.
And that's what scares me the most right now, because you're going off the back end of a confident English side, but also an English side that have found a little bit of cohesion within their team. It's going to be a big match. You don't need that sort of outside influences trying to get you up. The All Blacks will be up for it.
There's that aerial game, Beaver, that once again we should expect it's coming.
Yep.
Do we select to counter that? Because that's something we've tried to do during the season. As we've started searching, they couldn't wait to get Caleb Clark back in the All Black jersey on the wing. He looks as though he's going to be ruled out for this game. So is it about countering what's coming?
Well, it's been our only obvious answer to it, but I think we've worked out that the aerial game's not what it used to be. It is literally a 50-50 contest now. I think when you're looking at this character here, and Mario and the likes of that Lions tour, it was some of the English guys that really stood out, I guess, for us rugby lovers, just from a viewing point of view. So there's going to be some threats, I think, come at us, which we're going to face, which we haven't had in the last 2 weeks.
I mean, it was the defensive dominance and the aerial game, and that's where it's going to come down to. You give Pollock the likes, barometer of energy. He's out there, his blonde hair shaking around, he's giving it everything. If you give them a sniff like that, they just build off it. You can't do it.
How much has he beefed up?
Yes.
He's got big, so all of a sudden dynamic, physical, plays hard, and his impact, will it be off the bench or starting for England against the All Blacks? Let's have a look at the weekend we've got coming up, because there's some huge games, critical games for a number of these sides, and these 2 World Cup games, Belgium, Brazil and Samoa, Namibia, could be no more important than all the rest, because reality is they're trying to fight for a chance to be at a Rugby World Cup. Italy take on South Africa. Let's see whether or not they can back up their performance against Australia. Different beast, to be fair. And then Wales take on Japan. That'll be an interesting encounter in Cardiff. Ireland, Australia, doesn't get any easier for Australia. And then France take on Fiji. Scotland taking on Argentina. And the All Blacks 15, they're in action against Uruguay in the weekend as well. Can we see a shock? Can we see an upset? Is there a surprise anywhere, gentlemen, when you look at next weekend? For you, Mills?
Oh, I'd like to
Don't say England.
No,
just say anybody else but England.
It's probably the Japanese game.
Oh, really?
Against Wales.
Yep.
I mean, we're Wales.
Whoever wins that will be a surprise. If there's a winner, there's a surprise. Draw.
You're talking a draw. So you're thinking there for you?
Yeah, well, I was locked on the Wales-Japan game.
Wow.
No, Aussie to pull something out of somewhere, maybe a first five, who knows? They'll win in Ireland.
They'll win in Ireland?
Yep.
For you, Gussie?
Well, I was going with Mills's pick, his pick. Now I'm going to go Samoa. Samoa. You guys are just taking my picks.
Why are we
Samoa to qualify.
Why are we so interested in Wales, Japan?
None of them's ever won a game.
What do you mean, there's ever won a game? Seriously? No one's got any doubts about the All Blacks?
No.
No.
Oh, I love your positivity. I tell you what, we'll see. We'll see in a week's time whether these gents are right. Thanks for joining us on The Breakdown. Look forward to doing it all again in 7 days' time. See you then.